Hello, friends, YouTubers, citizens, taxpayers, consumers, shoppers, shopaholics, bottom feeders, shills, bootlickers. I am a useful idiot, and I'd like to make a comment about a statement that I read recently that really struck home. I've read it before, but in this current milieu we're in, it really resonated very specifically. And the Rothbard quote, Murray Rothbard quote itself is, "Any man who is an individualist and a libertarian in this day and age has a difficult row to hoe. He finds himself in a world marked, if not dominated, by folly, fraud, and tyranny. He has, if he has a reflecting man, three possible courses of action open to him." So that opening salvo is interesting enough. I know this same idea has been articulated by many other heroes I have, including Ralph Waldo Emerson. And that's this idea of what you do if you are a reflective individual with a certain degree of intelligence and thoughtfulness, who finds himself in this world where it's the lowest common denominator and there is a great reward for mediocrity. So he goes on to say that the three choices are: he may retire from social and political world into his private occupation, or he can set about to try and change the world for the better, or at least to formulate and propagate his views with such an ultimate hope in mind. And the third choice: he can stay in the world, enjoying himself immensely at this spectacle of folly. For those of you who know me, obviously, number three has a great deal of appeal. He can stay in the world, enjoying himself immensely at the spectacle of folly. There's been more than once I felt like I was passing through an observer, and I can stay somewhat detached from current world events because it's a spectacle of folly, unequaled, and we're witnessing events in our time that are amazing, if nothing else. It's a very disturbing time to live in, but as an amateur historian, very, very fascinating just to watch this unfold. But I would say, and this is the point of my video, that I will take Murray Rothbard one step further and say that I certainly appreciate the formula that he put this into, but I think that you can take all three of those choices simultaneously. Because I retire from the social and political world into my private occupation during the day when I'm at work, although I'm involved in discussions with coworkers about the events of the day. And obviously, through these efforts, making these videos for one thing, I can set about to try and change the world for the better, or at least to formulate and propagate my views with such an ultimate hope in mind. And I'm one who firmly believes that you think globally and act locally, and that if my efforts can point even one or two people who may go on to one or two people themselves, who may go on to one or two people, that's worth the effort of the fact that I'll put out a video that'll get 30 views, because I'm doing something, however minimal it might seem in the grand scheme of things. I remember a great video by a very close friend of mine, Deb Truth, who brought up the idea that, okay, the time for gathering information is valuable, and at some point you have to transcend the routine of gathering this information and formulate a plan of what you will do with that information. And I completely agree. For example, we know there is a new world order, which in actuality is a very old world order. It's always been here. It does feel like there's a culmination of that concept, whatever you think it may be. And so we know what it is. We've labeled it. We know what it does. We know there's probably little chance that we can resist it. Hopefully, at the very best, we might be able to guide it somewhat. But anyway, it's all relative. Being aware of this, all the events that are going on right now, it's important to put into action as much as you can. Sometimes the gathering of the information itself can be all-consuming. So you have to watch for that and resist. I know I do. So, and then that third choice, which ultimately works for me, he can stay in the world enjoying himself immensely at the spectacle of folly. And I know, like a lot of you, I suffer from collapse fatigue and collapse information fatigue. But I still enjoy all these simple things and all the beauty in life and the people I love. And I just think that even though things look pretty crazy out there, keep it in context that this is a historical epoch unequaled and something to marvel in, even as bad as it may end up turning out. And that everybody should keep making their efforts in their own lives and the people around them. So, but in the end, my choice is to make humor of all the tragedy around me, because this is the theater of the absurd and a spectacle of folly that is unequaled, and that is to be enjoyed in its own right as well.